back and ask, why did I include these words in my oration, Mr. Speaker, sir? I said those words because while we were before this house, while we were sitting here debating that motion, the mover of the present motion sounded a warning to this house. We didn't have an opportunity then to adduce that evidence because we had already finished our filings. We have an opportunity now to adduce this evidence. And she said, and I quote, I want to urge our Senate, if they reinstate Kawira Mwangaza, they should know we have 6 more times to impeach her. When we are here debating the last motion, they didn't need any new grounds. They were sounding a warning to this house. Release her and we shall come back 6 times. If they reinstate her, we will impeach her until the 6th time, so that we tell the people of Meru we did our best. We tried to impeach, but the Senate reinstated her. At an appropriate time, not now, we shall play for you clip VKM1, where you'll see those words verbatim. It means we are here today as a matter of statistical count on the part of Honorable Zipporah Kinya. She has 5 more times to go. The question is, Honorable Senators, what can you do as a House tasked to protect devolution to stop this plainly, and with respect, Honorable Senators, plainly nefarious use of the impeachment power? Let me pose the critical question on the mind of everybody, including mine. What is ailing Meru County? Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, I make an argument that this question will attract a negative answer and a positive answer. The negative answer is useful for the determination of the matters before you. The positive answer is useful for a long-term engagement with Meru. The negative answer is this: the problem with Meru County is not Her Excellency Honorable Kawira Mwangaza. With humility, Mr. Speaker, let me repeat in clear, unambiguous, and unequivocal terms. Nothing in the acts or omissions on the part of Honorable Kawira Mwangaza warrants her removal from office by way of impeachment, at least as far as that principle is established by law. Let me try to deal with a positive answer. To help us supply a positive answer to this question, we have lined up Honorable Evans Mawira Kawira, a witness for the governor in these proceedings. Honorable Evans Mawira is significant to these proceedings in 4 significant ways. Number 1, he is a 2-time elected MCA in Meru County Assembly, carrying with him a measure of institutional memory. Number 2, he is the immediate former leader of majority in the County Assembly of Meru, therefore exposed to the workings of that assembly to a fairly high level. Number 3, he was the mover of the impeachment motion against the governor that engaged us here in November 2023, and he is best placed to explain to us what were the undertones and the intricacies in those proceedings. And number 4, he will give us a detailed account on how these impeachment motions are conceptualized and what is the thinking behind them. Mr. Speaker, distinguished senators, at this juncture, I can do no better than to take refuge in the voice of one of Africa's perhaps best literary experts, Chinua Achebe, whose voice continues to address us as follows: if the alligator were to come from the water and tell us Mr. Crocodile is sick, who are we to doubt him? Mr. Evans Mawira Kawira will play that role today. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to derive some lessons from the teachings of an American jurist by the name Robert Jackson. Robert Jackson is a jurist worth listening to or reading from for 3 reasons. 1, he served as the Federal Attorney General of the United States of America. Number 2, he served as the prosecutor at Nuremberg. And number 3, he served as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of America. No other jurist in America's or world history has met this combination of influential portfolios in his lifetime this far. In 1940, on 1st of April at 10 a.m., Robert Jackson delivered a speech to the 2nd annual conference of the United States Attorneys. And he was reflecting on the power of prosecutors. I would juxtapose that with the power of impeachers. He observed, and I quote, "The prosecutor has more control over life, liberty, and reputation than any other person in America. His discretion is tremendous. While the prosecutor, at his best, is one of the most beneficent forces in our society, when he acts from malice or other base motives, he is one of the worst." He proceeds, "If the prosecutor is obliged to choose his cases, it follows that he can choose his defendants. And therein lies the most dangerous power of the prosecutor, that he will pick people that he thinks he should, rather than cases that need to be prosecuted. In such a case, it is not a question of discovering the commission of a crime and then looking for the man who has committed it. It's a question of picking the man, then searching the law books and putting investigators to work to pin some offense on him. It is in this realm in which the prosecutor picks some person whom he dislikes or desires to embarrass, or selects some group of unpopular persons and then looks for an offense, that the greatest danger of abuse of prosecuting power lies. It is here that law enforcement becomes personal, and the real crime becomes being unpopular with the predominant or governing group. Distinguished senators, I want to make it unequivocal here. The County Assembly of Meru has not discovered wrongs against Governor Kawira Mwangaza. It has discovered Honorable Kawira Mwangaza first and has put anything and everything at play to say what allegation can we make against her to possibly embarrass her. Allow me to make some general comments on the impeachment motion before you, conscious of the language of this House, but again mindful to speak the truth in its most manifest form. I repeat, distinguished senators, volume number 1 of the document in front of you from the County Assembly, which essentially is the impeachment motion, is simply and squarely a manifesto of lies. This language, Mr. Speaker, sir, is actually strong, and I begin by conceding that, and it requires justification. Let me therefore proceed to justify by making a promissory note. I promise you that at the tail end of this hearing, you will have discovered the following. Number 1, when you will retire to consider count number 1, paragraph 4 of the impeachment motion before you, it will read, and I quote, illegally dismissing Dr. Ntoiti, CEO, County Revenue Board, Paul Mwaki, CEO of Liquor Board, Kenneth Kimathi Mbae, Managing Director of Meru Finance Corporation, and Joseph Kithure Mberia, CEO, MWAS, in the usurpation of the powers of the appointing authorities. When you look at the motion you dispensed with last November, count number 4, you will see paragraph 16b sending Dr. Ntoiti, that same Ntoiti, Paul Mwaki, that same Paul Mwaki, Kenneth Kimathi Mbae, that same Kenneth Kimathi Mbae, Joseph Kithure Mberia, that same Joseph Kithure Mberia, on indefinite compulsory leave. You are redebating the same matter you debated and voted on here in all its substantive content. Number 2, when you look at count number 3, paragraph 3 of the motion before you, you will find a charge of allegation of employing a bloated workforce of at least 111 personal staff in the governor's office. Good people. Count 4, paragraph G of the last impeachment motion read, employing a bloated workforce, more than 100 personal staff in the office of governor. The Swahili say, ukistaajabu ya Musa, utaona ya Firauni. You'll be surprised that the documentary evidence, the piece of paper that was used to support count 4, paragraph G of the last impeachment motion, is the same piece of paper with the same names in the same order that has been attached to the motion before you. That thing that you voted and said has not been proved. I think the county assembly is trying to try this and embarrass this Senate so that if you vote to the contrary, they will now be in the blogosphere saying how inconsistent you are in your decision making. Evidence will show that any attempt by the County Public Service Board of Meru to add any staff in the governor's office since November, the governor has responded by declining those staff and saying, you employ staff and send them here, then you take me to Senate. You'll see those letters of the governor rejecting any staff. There is no additional staff with the governor's approval in her office since we left here. And the words used by the governor in her rejection letter is that you are sending here this staff to create grounds for my impeachment. Allow me to then give you a promissory note on what my learned colleague, Mr. Mutuma, addressed here. You will come across the following claims at the end of this impeachment exercise that are false. These claims are factually false. Ground 1, paragraph 3A. You'll be told the governor failed to implement the recommendations of the county assembly, requiring the governor to dismiss the county secretary, Dr. Kiambi Aderu, and chief of staff, Harrison Gitobu Njambi. Then 2, that the governor ignored or failed to submit a report to the county assembly on the implementation of the recommendations within 60 days. Distinguished senators, you will go through all the 6 volumes that the county assembly has presented before you. You will not see any Hansard or any resolution of the county assembly to any of these 2 facts. Number 2, you will not see any letter by the clerk or other official of Meru County Assembly transmitting a resolution of this nature from the Meru County Assembly. Distinguished senators, how else can you describe this than a lie? Can there be another word in the dictionary of Englishmen and women that can describe this, if not a lie? Number 2, ground number 1, paragraph 4, illegally dismissing Dr. Ntoiti. And by the way, senators, if I forget, Dr. Ntoiti is an employee of the county government of Nairobi, as we speak today, not Meru. Dr. Ntoiti, and he has been so since 2007. This is something that's going to emerge from these proceedings. Dr. Ntoiti, Paul Mwaki, Kenneth Kimathi, and Joseph Kithure Mberia. 1, none of these people have ever been dismissed from service, none. 2, you will see by evidence, these were people on fixed term contracts, some of whom their contracts came to an end. Others among them, they discovered they had maneuvered their ways and gotten their way to 2 governments, and they ran away by themselves. One of them is Dr. Ntoiti, the county government of Nairobi. We will show you correspondence from Nairobi County government revealing these facts. Therefore, How else can you describe this? You will see this governor has not dismissed any of them as a matter of fact. Ground 2, paragraph 6. You will be told, or you are told, that the governor deliberately and knowingly misled the public that 86,000 shillings, quote unquote, 86 million shillings, my apologies for that, 86 million shillings, quote unquote, had been raised through pay bill number 247, account number 04001639178999. There will be no evidence by documentary or video or even witness evidence showing the governor has ever mentioned this pay bill number or mentioned this account number anywhere. It is a fact we will prove by evidence. The leaders who have waged the war against the governor have collected money across multiple pay bill numbers, M-Pesa platforms, and cash accounts that have not been presented to this Senate. It is a submission. If the county assembly has decided to make the issue of the money collected in relation to the unfortunate death of Sniper an issue in this Senate, they must make a full and candid disclosure of how much money was collected across all these platforms. Ground 3, paragraph 8, irregular payment of emergency call allowances to 161 doctors and medical doctors using the wrong rates. 1, as a matter of fact, the governor is neither a salary processing or a salary paying officer in the county government of Meru. But 2, and more importantly, substantively, the emergency call allowance complained of here is expressly contained in the collective bargaining agreement negotiated between the national government, the Ministry of Health, and KMPDU. The instructions were cascaded down from the principal secretary to the council of governors and to all counties. No cent has been paid outside the figures set out in that collective bargaining agreement. I think, let me use the brief time I have here, because we are also the public listening to us, to make it clear to the doctors in Meru that the compliance by the county government of Meru with their hard-fought and negotiated CBA, and we all know in the public domain, some officials of KMPDU actually went in jail for some days in the course of these 2017 negotiations. Implementation is actually landing a governor in problems. Ground 3, paragraph 9, use of a manual payroll to pay personnel emoluments. 1, this is something you'll find very paradoxical. As at 25th June 2024, the County Assembly of Meru had raised this question with the county executive on whether there is a manual payroll. And the county executive had answered satisfactorily that there was no longer use of a manual payroll in the county government of Meru. That's number 1. But number 2, the same audit report that the county assembly will give you showing that there may have been use of manual payroll previously will show use of manual payroll in the county itself as well in the same financial year. And we are not here to equal terms. We are making a simple case that the procedure of processing the integrated payroll personnel database numbers, IPPD numbers, takes time. And therefore, the employees who are in the meantime accommodated on the manual payrolls are there for the limited purpose when we are waiting for the Directorate of Personnel Management in the Ministry of Public Service to generate IPPD numbers. These are nursery school teachers whom we cannot keep for 8 months as they wait for their IPPD numbers before they begin earning. There is no allegation of loss of any coin in these circumstances. I have addressed the issue of the alleged bloated workforce in the governor's office, but you see they say there are 111 personal staff in the governor's office. As a matter of fact, we do not have 111 personal staff in the governor's office. It is simply not true. On the allegation that one Kiambi Crispus Manyara was paid, one, the governor is not the head of public county service involved in interdiction or suspension of staff. Number two, the governor does not process or pay any staff of the county government. The allegation, therefore, that this governor has paid Kiambi Crispus Manyara is actually factually false. Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, I spent my 2 minutes to address certain overall, sorry, may I just have 1 minute to summarize up something? Just 1 minute. I didn't know my time was up, I thought it was 2 minutes. We have said before, Mr. Speaker, and we reiterate that the County Assembly of Meru brings here the governor because it lacks respect for this oversight institution. If the team upstairs has access to video number VKM18.
Counsel for the governor, your time is up.
My apologies.
I'll give you 1 more minute.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So may I just ask the team upstairs to run for me video VKM18 at minute 1.18 to 1.17 strictly in the interest of time. Access to video number VKM18.
Counsel for
the house of shame.
Your time is up.
My apologies.
That house of greed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Called the Senate.
The team upstairs to run for me video VKM18 at minute 1.18 to 1.17 strictly in the interest of time. Access to video number VKM18.
Counsel for
of shame. Of shame. That house of greed.
Thank you so much.
Called the Senate. A house of shame. A house of greed. Aingeturudishia ugonjwa huu Meru. Atungekuwa hapa.
Thank you so much. That is the General Secretary of DEB Party, a party with 20 members in the Meru County Assembly that has partly sponsored the motion before you. I rest the governor's opening arguments.
Now, honorable senators, kindly be upstanding. Honorable senators, it is now 12:49. It's time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate, therefore, stands adjourned until today, Monday, the 19th of August, 2024, at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.
That marks the end of the first session, where the parties for the governor as well as members of the county assembly, that is the defense team, have had their opening statements, strictly allocated at 30 minutes each, to convince the House as to why they should uphold the resolution by either of the side. The county assembly's council speaking to the strength of their case, and the defense asking the Senate to throw out the charges, terming them frivolous, and charges that have been used to torment the governor for Meru County. The House is now taking a short break of about an hour or so.